Coming up next, Cayman's leaders share some words of advice with new Governor Martin Roper. One man is hospitalized following a West Bay stabbing, and police release the identity of the man killed in Sunday's industrial accident.
Cayman swimmers continue to impress abroad, plus the future Carifta shot put, discus, and javelin work on the track.
And we've got some rough seas to end October, but the beginning of November is looking pretty good. I'll fill you in with a full forecast later in the show.
Cayman 27 News is coming up next.
You're watching Cayman 27 News, Cayman Informed. Brought to you by Foster's Food Fair. At Foster's Food Fair, we care. Flow.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Taylor Burrows. Thank you for tuning in. Cayman's 14th governor is settling into his new role today, and the first item on the day's agenda was a meeting with the premier. Yesterday, Mr. McLaughlin spoke during Martin Roper's swearing-in ceremony, outlining what he would like their relationship to be. Caroline James was there, and she has this report.
Cannons fired and Union flags held aloft. It was a busy first day for Cayman's new governor, with a swearing-in ceremony full of pomp and circumstance.
God save the Queen.
He was welcomed to his new role by Premier Alder McLaughlin, who wasted no time in signposting the challenges ahead for Mr. Roper.
I fully understand the challenges of walking that line between your responsibility as a representative of the Queen and an appointee of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and your role as governor.
The Premier also highlighted some of the areas of contention he anticipated with the new governor, including the thorny issues of constitutional overreach and gay marriage.
Gay marriages and the rights of same-sex couples, which is currently, one matter of which is currently before the court. And of course the ongoing dialogue and debate and, if I am frank, pressure from the United Kingdom government for the Cayman Islands and some of its other territories to accede to their thrust for these islands to validate such relationships.
Mr. Roper acknowledged those sensitivities too, hinting at the stance he would be taking on behalf of the UK.
Compliance with human rights obligations, including the right to equality for all Cayman Islanders, is an integral part of that.
The Premier did praise the Governor for initiating video contact prior to his arrival on island. He also signalled out an area upon which both men were already in agreement.
Any man who likes bicycles and books has a head start in my estimation.
Caroline James, Cayman 27.
And Mr. Roper will be holding his first news conference as governor this Thursday. And the governor also strayed off script in his address to wax lyrical about one of Cayman's biggest draws, 7 Mile Beach. Earlier in the swearing-in ceremony, Deputy Governor Franz Manderson commented on Mr. Roper's reaction when he saw the view of 7 Mile Beach from Government House. And Mr. Roper added his 2 cents.
I will shortly visit the sister islands of Cayman Brac and Little Cayman and look forward to seeing the natural beauty of your island's environment. And I think the image that I saw when I walked into the house this morning will also live with Lizzie and I for the rest of our lives.
It was the only time during the speech that the governor ad-libbed and strayed from his prepared remarks. And a Foreign and Commonwealth Office Freedom of Information request released this weekend divulged some key points on the Cayman governor's post. And Cayman 27 has been poring over the results of that FOI. It pertained to what the governor's role entails, along with other members of staff in that office, as well as their salaries. Cayman 27 has learned that the governor's salary and his personal assistant's salary are actually paid for by the Cayman Islands government. Now that's different to other members of staff who are paid for by the UK government. And the grassroots group behind the effort to trigger a referendum on the controversial cruise berthing project won't say how many signatures it's collected thus far. A Cruiseport Referendum Cayman representative says the group is keeping its numbers close to its chest for now, citing a number of unspecified reasons. Our last update came a few weeks ago when CPR Cayman said it had surpassed 3/4 of its target. The group would need to collect close to 5,300 signatures to force a yes or no vote on the project. And Joe Avery is next with a check on weather. Joe, give us an update.
Things are looking pretty good. Like I said, October going out kind of like a lion, 4 to 6 foot seas tonight. A little bit rough out there, but November starting off nice and calm, tranquil. First weekend of the new month. It looks amazing, guys.
That's awesome, Joe. Thank you so much. And one man remains in hospital tonight in stable condition after a stabbing in West Bay. The incident happened shortly before 6 o'clock last night on Powell Smith Road, and police say officers on patrol were alerted to a stabbing outside a liquor store in the area. When they arrived, those involved in the incident had already left the scene, and the injured man was taken to Birch Tree Hill Road. He had wounds to his torso and leg, and he was transported to the Cayman Islands Hospital. Anyone with any information is asked to contact West Bay CID at 949-3999. And quick action saves an unoccupied house from destruction. The incident happened around 6 p.m. yesterday near Uncle Bill's. According to Fire Chief David Hales, a heap fire had been ignited near the building, and that fire spread to the wooden wall of the house. But he says the fire was extinguished with a garden hose before the fire service arrived. And police have released the identity of the man killed in Sunday's industrial accident in Bodentown. He is 54-year-old Filipino national Crisanto Dizon. Mr. Dizon was resident in the Cayman Islands, and he was killed around 4 p.m. while at work at the quarry on Lakeview Drive in Bodentown. Police say Mr. Dizon two other men were using an industrial compressor to put air in a tire when the tire exploded, leaving the 54-year-old man dead and his co-workers injured. They were treated for non-life-threatening injuries at hospital and released. Both police and health and safety officers from the Department of Labor and Pensions have launched investigation into the incident. And after the break, we crunch the numbers on the economic impact of Cayman's Great Green Iguana Call. The Edna Moyle Primary School playfield upgrade progresses, and the clock is running out for those last-minute Halloween deals. That and more after the break. The 2018-2019 Green Iguana Call is underway. Yesterday, registered colors delivered more than 3,000 iguanas to the counting station for an impressive day one total. With a bounty of up to $5 per iguana, the call is also boosting the economy. Cayman 27's Joe Avery joins us with more.
Thanks, Taylor. Are you ready for a little math? The Department of Environment says 13,819 iguana carcasses were turned into the counting facility Monday. At a base rate of $4.50 per iguana, that comes out to more than $62,000, with almost $7,000 in bonuses reserved for colors that meet their monthly and yearly quotas. That money goes right into colors' pockets.
Licensed iguana culler Chet Rivers captures an invasive green iguana hatchling with his bare hands. It's good for up to $5 in the 2018-2019 Green Iguana Call.
At the end of the month, if we reach a quota, we do make a good money.
Mr. Rivers says he's well on his way to meeting his monthly quota of 450 iguanas. Tuesday, he and another registered culler combined to deliver 250 carcasses to the counting station.
The price is $4.50 and your quota is $4.50. So if you can produce that for the month, then you make like close to $20-something $100 for the month, which is not bad. If you do over your quota, you get more. The higher you go, the higher over the quota, and the longer you do it for, the money goes up to eventually $5.
While the economic incentives of culling are self-explanatory, Mr. Rivers is also eager to do his part to protect the natural environment.
This is what it's really about. You know, you have all this produce that is going to waste because we're not getting no mangoes, no fruits, no veggies, all of that stuff because of these same creatures.
The economic benefits extend beyond cullers themselves.
For my company, we've actually gone ahead and hired 3 members of staff with the intent to hire 2 more.
Cull manager Carl Noble says in addition to the jobs created to staff the Iguana Control Project team, other companies have sprung up with the aim of capitalizing on the cull.
And we're encouraged because we've seen business models where companies are preparing for the long haul. Over time, we'll see people actually recognizing the potential of this program and actually create more companies, more jobs, and that sort of thing.
Now, the DOE is hoping to cull 1.4 million green iguanas by the end of 2019. If that ambitious goal is reached, the project will pay out anywhere from $6.3 to $7 million to cullers. Live in the studio, Joe Avery, Cayman 27.
E-Government Director Ian Tibbetts says interoperability is at the heart of delivering future online services. Mr. Tibbetts says the variety of e-services already available gets much of the attention, but much of e-government's focus has been on developing the underlying infrastructure that allows for the secure sharing of information.
That's ready. The identity and access management piece of it that we talk that kind of backs up that simplified, secure access. The procurement for that is in the very final stages.
He says a recommendation will be submitted by this week, and in a few months, he says an identity management piece should be in place. The long-awaited upgrade to the playfield at Edna Moyle Primary School has commenced. The AstroTurf has been installed at the school, and many of the students at the school say they are grateful the work is being done to improve their playfield. Cayman 27's Seaford Russell Jr. has the story.
We've got the AstroTurf all laid out on the field. We have to join it now because we had to cut it up in order to transport it.
The AstroTurf has been installed at the Edna Moyle Primary School, but leader of the opposition and Northside MLA Ezard Miller says there's more work to be done on the playfield.
And the government is going to put down the 4-lane track around it on the weekend of the 12th of November. So then it'll be completed by the 15th, 16th November, everything will be done. Edna
Moyle student Mia McLean says the new addition has helped her moves.
It's very soft, so we could we could run faster.
Schoolmate Zaron Fedrick says seeing the new improvements is a dream come true.
This new field, I wanted it to happen a long time ago since I came to this school. Because the first time I fell down, it felt like the rocks were drilling through my feet.
As for student Simon Hansen, activities are much fun when playing on the new turf.
Especially when goalkeepers go in the goal, they could dive. And in the other field, if you dive, you'll actually get cut. And I hated that because people got cut too much and they got really badly hurt.
A point shared by schoolmate Marie Rivers.
And when you walk on this one, you don't trip up because there's not much rocks, and I like it.
Even though the field is still a work in progress, the kids say they feel much safer playing, and that's a thumbs up. Seaford Russell, Cayman 27.
The entire project is expected to be completed by the middle of next month. And Finance Minister Roy McTaggart says the third and final set of amendments to the Public Management and Finance Law are due to come before the House. But the minister said timing is still up in the air.
We are looking at doing out and rolling out the final set of amendments to the Public Management and Finance Law that came out of a review that I chaired and led back in 2014, 2015. We've done two amendments, and the third set of and final set of amendments are to be worked on and brought to the House. The timing of it right now is still very much up in the air, but it's on our radar screen.
Other amendments to the Public Management and Finance Law have already seen the ministry switch to 2-year budget cycles. And hefty penalties for illegal gambling are headed to the Legislative Assembly come November. The gambling amendment bill will be among a number of pieces of legislation up for debate on the LA agenda. The new bill proposes increased penalties for a range of general gambling offenses, including the use and ownership of premises for gambling, the publication of lottery numbers, and dealing with money resulting from gambling activities. Fines for offenses under the proposed law are upwards from $2,500 to $20,000. And apart from increased fines, those breaking the law could face jail terms ranging from 6 months to 3 years, all depending on the offenses committed. And Jordan Armaniz is up next with a check on sports. Hopefully no gambling's happening.
No, well, I mean, I thought Kevin was going to be here and then he was going to give me a hard time because his beloved Milwaukee Bucks beat the Toronto Raptors last night. But he's not here, so now we have to talk about something else.
Well, I mean, I wasn't watching any sports last night, so you'll have to update us.
Hey, here's a question for you, Taylor. Did you ever do shot put, discus, or javelin?
I did.
Really? Well, hopefully you will be as good as these young throwers. They got to work with a traveling coach brought to Cayman by the Athletic Association, and they're hoping to compete at Carifta this next year upcoming.
Cayman 27 Sports is brought to you by Elite Marble and Granite, where perfection costs less.
Welcome back. We start in the pool. 12-year-old Jillian Crooks continued her strong season, this time in Jamaica. Now, after breaking 15 records at the Cayman Bay Fall Kickoff just 2 weeks ago, Crooks dove into the pool once again, this time for the Dean Martin Memorial Meet. 11 more records fell at the meet. Crooks once again lowering her times, 5 new CIASA records and 6 national records. 9 of her new records were already owned by her. She, of course, dropped time in these events, setting new records for girls ages 11 to 12. 2 other times were held by swimmers other than herself. The 200 IM, which was previously held by Coral Tomasic, and the 100-meter national breaststroke record previously held by Allison Jackson. Staying with swimming, Stingray Swim Club Sarah Jackson says she's given a verbal commitment to attend the University of Northern Colorado in September and the swim for the Division I school. Now, Jackson, along with a group of Stingray swimmers, traveled to the university in July with head coach David Pursley, along with other swimmers, of course, for altitude training. Now, the trip included training sessions with UNC swimming head coach Lisa Ebeling. Jackson says she's excited to be working with the coach once again come September.
For me, especially having a great relationship with the coach is something I've always had, and so that was really important to me. And then just her talking to me about the team and what she wanted in the next 4 years just really excited me more than any of the other coaches I was talking to. So.
Now, Cayman currently has 6 swimmers competing at either Division I or Division II schools. All right, let's head to the track as the talk of Cayman athletics world centers around the 48th staging of the Carifta Games right here in Cayman. Many of Cayman's youngest athletes hope April's games will give them an opportunity to perform on home soil. And the Cayman Islands Athletic Association brought in a coach this past week to see what exactly Cayman's throwers are bringing to the table.
Block. Thank you. The talent is there and it looks good for the future. There are a few who are really looking as if they can, between now and the time for Carifta, they can make up to the standards, because the standards are not very far from where they are now.
44-year-old Paul Phillip, a former shot put and discus thrower from Grenada, is training up some of Cayman's youngest throwers. And young athletes like 13-year-old Yaneli Dawkins are reaping the benefits.
My techniques have improved, and I didn't really think I could have done the full turn, but I actually could have done it, and I done it well.
But after working with throwers for just 1 week, he suggests Cayman's athletics training program may need an overhaul.
I have coached a number of athletes, over 36 medals at Carifta level, with people the same size or smaller sometimes. And it really takes a strong technical base and a very good fitness program, strength and conditioning program to get them to the next level.
And the Carifta level is where athletes like 15-year-old Kylie Porter want to be for themselves and the people that have supported them along the way.
It will mean a lot, because then I can make my grandparents proud and my whole family. Especially my grandfather, because he was into sports before he passed.
For athletes like John Gray High School's Brianna Smith, it was an opportunity to start from scratch, even if it hasn't fully sunk in.
I've learned about the triple extension, and I've learned how to place the shot put better. And I've learned more ways to practice with the ball.
A positive step forward for Cayman's future Carifta athletes. All right, Joe's got your weather next, guys. Stick around.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here in the Weather Center. We are watching the radar right now because that's what weathermen do to make sure you guys at home are informed. Let's take a look at it right here. You can see a little bit of showers off to the west, to the east, to the northeast, mostly to the south, though. We got a lot of little drips and drabs down there. I'm going to go ahead and circle some of the bigger storm cells. They look about maybe 80 to 100 miles to the south of Grand Cayman right there. Up here in the Sister Islands, you can see some showers. They're making their way to the Sister Islands. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a little bit of that in the evening. Speaking of showers, we have a 20% chance rather, for our TGI Wednesday. We've made it halfway through the week. The dominant feature that you're going to see outside, though, is those waves out there, 4 to 6 foot seas for tonight and tomorrow. Small crafts, obviously, better be using some caution outside on the open water. Anyway, let's switch it to the 7-day forecast. This is where the weather really comes to shine, guys. We kind of prognosticate a little bit. We look out into the future, into my so-called crystal ball, and I give you my predictions for the week. I was talking about today, you know, I got it right. I saw some morning showers in West Bay, so my Monday prediction came true. But Wednesdays, we got 20% chance of showers. That's not a great chance. If you get it, consider yourself lucky. The plant's loving it. Thursday and Friday, we're going to have calmer seas. Also a 30% chance of rain. Weather paper right here saying maybe a little bit of rumbles of thunder on Thursday. Friday, clearing up, 20% chance of showers right there. The main thing I'm concerned with is I love the sea state. After we have these 4 to 6 foot seas right here, Tuesday and Wednesday, it kind of calms down on Thursday. Friday and Saturday, looking 1 to 3 foot seas, flat, calm, dead nice, beautiful, like we always expect from our Cayman Islands. Anyway, we got a weather pick of the day for you from Seaford Russell Jr. He sent one in. The grass is greener over at Edna Moyle Primary. And guess what? I use those quotation marks because it's not really grass that's greener, it's turf. How about back to you, Taylor?
Thanks, Joe. Well, Halloween is less than 24 hours away, and many people are still searching for tricks and treats. And Hurley's Supermarket is one of many stores that have Halloween supplies, and one of Hurley's supermarket managers, Michael Miller, says they still have Halloween goods for last-minute shoppers.
We have our last-minute candy shoppers right across from the eatery. We still have some pumpkins left and some pumpkin carving kits, as well as other accessories for costumes, paints for the faces. We have candles, and we have custom cakes that you can still get for Halloween.
And if you are going trick-or-treating, here are some good spots to go to. We've got Snug Harbor, Webster Estates, and South Sound in Little Savannah. And be sure not to eat too much candy now, okay? So coming up in the second half hour of Cayman 27 News, we sit down with Miss World Cayman, Kelsey Bodden, and she prepares to compete in China. And don't forget to WhatsApp us any of your photos, videos, or news tips, especially during Halloween. You can reach us at 527-2727. Talk about her plans and her expectations ahead of the global contest in China. So that's not very specific.
No, not at all.
I'm talking to Kelsey, actually. She doesn't know what she's saying, so
I guess I can.
just how you've prepared, how things. How much time do you have on there? 5. Do you have a mic on it? No. It's hanging right there. It's probably in your grasp. Yeah, it's coming up from the other way, I think. This way?
Is this fine?
It's just going to be on your, yeah, do that. There you go. And then count to 10? Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Cayman 27 News. I'm Dr. Taylor Burrows. And the newly crowned Miss World Cayman Islands, Kelsey Bodden, is set to compete in the upcoming Miss World pageant in December. And she's heading off to start her preparations for the contest. And she joins me now to talk about her plans and expectations ahead of the global contest in China. Welcome, Chelsea. Good to see you again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, and it's been how long since the contest here?
It's been about 3 weeks. So I've had the crown for about 3 weeks, and in that time I've just been preparing to leave next week, Tuesday, for China. The competition actually isn't until December 6th, but they have us there a whole month in advance because we do tons of activities.
Right. So. Do you know what the plan is, what the agenda is like once you get to China?
I actually don't. So I know I land in Sanya this year, which is different from last year when Kristen did it. So I assume that from there they'll tell me what I do, but I know as soon as I land in China, they kind of just take me, and I am just like along for the ride, basically.
Well, that's probably a good thing if you just get to go on automatic pilot and follow other people's orders.
Exactly.
So is Kristen advising you on what was China like? Okay.
Yeah, so we actually spoke yesterday. She's been telling me a lot of information and giving me a lot of heads up and ways to prepare. So one thing that I didn't realize at the time is that they don't use Google. So a lot of the apps that we have here, I won't be able to access there without like a VPN or something. So that's one thing. So we've been trying to tell people to download Mobstar if they really want to keep up to date with what I'm doing while I'm in China, because I will be there for 4 weeks.
Yeah, and I remember when she was there was a lot of issues with diet and food.
Yes.
Are you prepared for that?
I think I am. I've been practicing with my chopsticks. So if I'm okay with it because I love Chinese and Japanese food, but I think the biggest issue for me is eating rice with it. So I've been practicing, and I have a few more days to really get it down pat.
And what other things do you have to prepare for, like the interview, or is there any talent?
There is a talent. The talent is optional, but I am doing a dance this year, and it's very Caribbean-ish, so that's really fun. And then also we have a sports segment that I'm actually really excited for as well.
So how do you prepare for that?
For the sports segment, we have our sponsor, who is F45. So I've been going to that and trying to keep fit. It's always diet that is usually my issue because I just love Caribbean food. I love jerk chicken and oxtail. But other than that, I've just been going on runs, going to F45, and just staying as fit as possible.
Is there any particular games that sports that you're predicting that you have to play, or?
Well, what Kristen told me from last year is they have a beep test. So I'm not really sure if you're familiar with what that is.
I think so.
So there's 2 different points, and there's a beep, and basically you have to try and make it to one of the points before the beep goes on, and it'll continuously speed up. So that's something that she told me to look forward to. But the thing is, they don't really tell you until the day before, so you kind of just have to be ready for everything. We could have swimming, you never know. Yeah.
So there's a lot to be prepared for. I mean, in regards to culture, food, diet, all these things that you wouldn't necessarily expect.
No, exactly.
It's probably very good you had a previous queen that went there so that you can have her advice.
And then the pageant this year, our pageant, local pageant, really tried to make it as much as the international pageant. So that also helped me prepare for China.
Okay, and you said that people were going to, or expected to go to the airport, hopefully, to see you off, is that correct?
So I leave next week on the 6th of November at 1:42, but we're hoping that people will come out at 12 o'clock to help see me off.
Okay, so 12 o'clock at the airport to see you off.
12 o'clock at the airport,
And how long does it take you to get over to China?
I actually go from Cayman to New York, which is about 4 hours, and then from New York to Hong Kong, which is 16 hours. So that's a very long flight.
Have you ever flown that far before?
No, so I've been to Europe, but never to Asia. So I'm pretty excited for that, but the flight is also something that I'm just like, oh, we'll see.
Sure. Is there someone going with you, a chaperone?
A chaperone isn't going with me this year, but when I go to Hong Kong, Nicosia Lawson, who is a past Miss Cayman and Miss World, is going to meet me in Hong Kong. And then also the last week, my mom is coming as well.
Oh, wonderful. I would assume that it would be nice to have someone there with you to help ground you and whatnot, but you get to meet all those other contestants.
Exactly.
And have you had any correspondence with any of the other pageant winners?
I did. So luckily for me, when I won, Miss Bahamas, Miss Sri Lanka, which is on the other side of the world, actually messaged me and said congratulations. So I've been speaking to them, also Miss England and Miss New Zealand. So I'm not there yet, but I already feel welcomed.
Well, that's wonderful. So it sounds like you have everything under control. You're super calm. I'm really impressed about that. So
I'm trying to be.
Yeah. How do you stay calm? I would assume that maybe even mindfulness or meditation would be a part of your preparedness.
I would say I journal. So I journal a lot. So whenever I feel anxious, I just kind of write it down, write down how I'm feeling. And then I just feel really prepared because I have Kristen, I have the committee members. So that really helps me feel calm. And I feel prepared to really make Cayman proud.
Well, wonderful. You are a great role model for everybody out there. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And stick around. We'll have more news after the break. Welcome back. Chinese high-end smartphone maker OnePlus isn't being scared off by a trade spat between Washington and Beijing, and it's unveiled a smartphone in New York that it hopes will help the company crack into the U.S. market. Reuters' Conway Gittins reports.
There's a new competitor trying to break into the global high-end smartphone market, and this one is coming from China. OnePlus, a 5-year-old Chinese startup, making its U.S. debut Monday with the 6T. The launch coming despite a trade spat between Beijing and Washington that's straining relationships between two of the world's biggest trading partners. But OnePlus and its American team, including mobile chip giant Qualcomm and wireless carrier T-Mobile, aren't scared off, says Reuters telecom reporter Sheila Dang.
On T-Mobile's side, the carrier has again said that their team has looked at the phone, they vetted the device, and they said they've gotten no questions from regulators or the U.S. government on the security of the phone. So both companies seem confident that this will not have any of the same problems as Huawei, for example.
Earlier this year, U.S. government worries that China could insert technology into Chinese company phones to spy on Americans, pressured leading U.S. mobile phone carriers AT&T and Verizon to scrap development plans for a high-end phone with Huawei. OnePlus also taking additional steps to soothe security and privacy concerns coming out of Washington.
So OnePlus has always said that they've been very stringent on the security of their phones. And one of the new features on the phone is there's a fingerprint scanner. So during the event in New York today, they said that they've engineered the phone to only memorize the fingerprint on the device itself. So it's not going to a server or anywhere different than the phone.
It's hoping high-end features like that will lure tech-savvy Americans, just like it did in India, OnePlus's other big bet. But India isn't the States, where brand loyalty to either Apple or Samsung is legendary, and not even a price point that's roughly $200 cheaper than a comparable Apple iPhone or Samsung Galaxy, may be low enough to break that hold.
Up next, world news and stories from around the region. Welcome back. It's time for a check on Wall Street. Major U.S. stock indexes jumped more than 1% today, helped by strong gains for chip and transport stocks. Reuters' Fred Katayama has this report.
Shares of Facebook fell in after-hours trading on Tuesday. The social network's quarterly profit rose, but its user growth and revenue fell shy of analyst targets. Earlier, during regular trading hours, Wall Street jumped more than 1%. Chip makers and transport spearheading the rally as investors took advantage of cheaper prices. Vespila Capital CEO Jeff Tomasula says the market may still need to retest the February lows before bouncing back.
And what I need to see in the market before I can say, hey, it's over going down, is we need to see some panic. We haven't seen panic in the market. You know, we see these whooshes down, we see the big numbers, but remember the Dow, when it drops 400 points, it was $20,000, over $20,000, dollars. So you're going to see these big point numbers. You have to look at the percentages.
Micron Technology sparked a rally in chip stocks. The Commerce Department cut off a Chinese semiconductor maker from its U.S. suppliers amid allegations it stole intellectual property from Micron. Coca-Cola shares bubbled higher, as did those of arch rival PepsiCo. Fast sales of Diet Coke and Coca-Cola Zero Sugar fueled organic revenue growth at the beverage giant. Mixed economic data, U.S. consumer confidence rose to an 18-year high in October, but home price gains slowed further in August. And a mixed close in Europe. Gains in healthcare stocks partly offset by declines in consumer staples and industrial shares.
Turning to world news, fears of an all-out U.S.-China trade war have been stoked by a report that United States is preparing to announce tariffs on all remaining Chinese imports by early December. That's if talks next month between presidents of both countries falter. More in this Reuters report.
In a sign the US president is gathering more ammunition ahead of trade war talks with China next month, Donald Trump appeared to confirm to Fox News reports that Washington will impose tariffs on all imports from Beijing in December if a truce isn't reached.
We're going to win that one.
How confident are you about the deal?
They'd like to make a deal right now. I just say they're not ready.
$250 billion additional tariffs if that deal doesn't go through.
$250 billion and have $267 billion waiting to go if we can't make a deal.
Are you optimistic? Scale of 1 to 10.
I think that we will make a great deal with China.
The apparent posturing ahead of next month's G20 summit in Buenos Aires was not taken kindly to by China, who's already imposed retaliatory tariffs on Washington to the tune of $110 billion, saying its strategy has not changed.
China is confident enough to stick to our own path, to continue reforms and open up and develop ourselves.
Markets not liking the possibility of an even tougher battle between the world's two largest economies opened higher on Tuesday and then fell into a sea of red.
I think the markets are not overreacting because if the tariffs are extended to all of China's exports to the US, then that would represent a serious curtailment of global trade. That would not be good news.
For Beijing, its currency moves could be of more immediate concern, though, in early Tuesday trade falling closer to 7 yuan per dollar, a 10-year low.
Rescue efforts continued in Italy today as heavy rain and strong winds kept battering the country for a third day in a row. The official death toll rose to 9, according to the National Civil Protection Agency. The National Fire Brigade said it had been called upon to help more than 7,000 weather-related incidents across the country in the last 2 days. Gale-force winds and sea swells hit the harbor in the tourist port town Rapallo, damaging dozens of large yachts and destroying mooring piers. And in regional news, sexual assaults are on the rise in Jamaica, and they're being carried out by hotel employees. That's according to advice issued by the U.S. State Department. The U.S. Embassy says 12 Americans were raped in Jamaica last year. Half of the attacks occurred inside resorts by hotel employees. Over the last 7 years, 78 U.S. citizens have been raped in Jamaica, according to the State Department statistics, up to 2017. And Brazil's far-right president-elect has called on the country's best-known anti-corruption judge to be justice minister or serve on the Supreme Court. Jair Bolsonaro also said he wants to loosen Brazil's gun laws because he believes greater gun ownership would help to cut crime. Mr. Bolsonaro won a comprehensive victory in Sunday's vote. And we have another check on the forecast for tomorrow in just a moment.
Was that for me?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it must have been on the printer.
You can't hear them.
Have them talk to me again.
Can you hear them now?
This fell out of the thing fell out of the hole. I'm hearing you again. Tide should be in. I don't know if I dropped it in the Casper though. Can you check? Okay, yeah, that's cool. Is Tide in? Okay. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It wouldn't be a Joe Avery weather segment without a little Sharky friend. This guy didn't really like me hanging out with the camera, kind of like a politician. You know how those guys are. They just run when they see it. Anyway, back out here in the Weather Center, we're watching the satellite picture right there. You can see some clouds up there, kind of in the area, but not really in our neck of the woods right there. We're looking pretty good. We have a thing going on, guys. The weather's looking fantastic. We got those 4 to 6 foot seas for the time being, but it's going to shape up really lovely for a weekend on the boat and on the flat water. It's going to be fantastic. But what do you guys care about? You guys care about your evening temperatures. Checking on the cooling process, 84 degrees in Georgetown. The rest of the island sitting pretty as well. Zooming right in, we're seeing 84s. 82, we got Bodentown kind of sticking out right there with an 82. A little bit different from the rest, but you know how Bodentowners are, right, guys? Anyway, we're looking at the sister islands, 82 degrees as well. Kind of behind my neck in Spot Bay, it's 82 degrees. Let's take a look around the region, guys. Let's kind of travel on a budget here is what we're doing at Cayman 27. Havana warming up to 82 degrees. Cancun, 82 degrees as well. Roatan back up in the 80s with 81. 70s down in Costa Rica. When we take our gaze at the Eastern Caribbean, though, we see 82 in St. Kitts, 81 in Trinidad, 73 in Caracas, Venezuela, and 80s down in the South American continent there. Let's take a final look at the 7-day forecast right here. I shot video this morning trying to say, hey, Joe Avery was right about the rain, but you know what? I forgot to send it in, and I forgot all about it till now. But hey, I was right today with that morning showers. We're looking for 30% chance of showers tomorrow, 20 for Thursday, 30 for Friday. It's going to be a fantastic week, especially when the wind dies down. That breeze does feel good, though. And hey, that's it for me. World and regional sports, that's what the people want.
Scroll up. welcome back. We start with gymnastics. Two former USA Gymnastics national team members filed suit Monday against the organization, disgraced ex-team doctor Larry Nassar, and the United States Olympic Committee for failure to prevent sexual assaults of young women. And in their case, 33-year-old Tasha Schweikert, a bronze medalist at the 2000 Sydney Olympics, and her sister Jordan, and they described themselves Monday as Nassar victims during a press conference at a Los Angeles law firm. The complainants seek to hold the defendants accountable, alleging the Schweikerts were referred to Nassar for medical treatment even though it knew or should have known of Nassar's sexual abuse and could have prevented it by taking sexual abuse allegations seriously and maintaining a culture of accountability and transparency. Nassar was sentenced in February up to 125 years in prison after some 200 women claimed and fund sexual assaults.
I am proud to be here today alongside my sister to raise our voices and join other gymnasts in holding the institution accountable and to make sure that not another Larry Nassar can ever happen again.
In addition, the complaints allege the United States Olympic Committee threatened to decertify USA Gymnastics as the sport's national governing body for denying, due to process to convict child sex abusers, it placed on a banned list. All right, switching gears, the National Football League's trade deadline expired earlier today, and NFL teams are loading up as they make a run to Super Bowl 53. Let's take a look at some of the action. We start with the Houston Texans looking to upgrade at the wide receiver position. They acquired former Broncos Pro Bowler Demaryius Thomas in exchange for a 4th-round pick. The two teams also swapped 7th-rounders. How about the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles? They picked up a wide receiver, Golden Tate, from the Detroit Lions. Lions received a 3rd-round pick. Tate has 44 catches and 3 touchdowns this season. The Green Bay Packers, this should make Kevin Morales happy. They made a pair of trades today. They moved Ty Montgomery, running back, to the Baltimore Ravens for just a 7th-round pick. Ravens 24th in rushing this season. Green Bay also traded free safety Clinton Dix, no laughing matter there, to Washington for a 4th-round pick. Dix had 3 interceptions this year. He was a Pro Bowler 2 years ago. Finally, the Rams, if they didn't need more pass rushing, they acquired former Jacksonville 1st-rounder Dante Fowler. They gave up 3rd and 5th-round picks to do so. All right, Taylor, back to you.
Well, that's our news for tonight. We thank you for watching. Good night.